What's going on, everyone? Today is day 12 of the 90-day challenge. We're off to a really strong start this week, getting some new properties locked up. If you are a wholesaler, please send me your deals. We are aggressively buying. Just closed on a lot of them in the last 2 weeks, and kind of need to replenish the pipeline. If there's anything I've learned, is that just a deal cycle, especially when you're using banks to close up front, which we're moving away from, is, in order to close 5 a month, you really have to have 15 pending at all times. You just have probate issues and title issues, and it seems like, 1 in every 3 is going to get pushed a month or two. So you got to keep your pipeline 3 times as much as you want it to be in order to close the number of deals. At least that's what I've been seeing over the last year and a half. Other things going on this week. A lot of investor meetings still getting set up, which, again, we're always raising investor money. Really excited about that. We're excited for all the meetings, and all the people who are reaching out. I really can't thank you all enough. And today, I want to go over the actual power grid. So I've talked about in a previous video of, actually really time tracking, from the second you wake up to when you leave your house to the time it takes you to get your coffee. And you don't have to get that granular at the beginning, but I would recommend that you actually do spend out find out how much time are you actually spending in your car commuting, because it's so easy to just have Google Calendar pulled up and every hour look back about what you did and make 3 or 4 events. And at the end of the day, end of the week, you'll be able to actually look back and then cross it against your power grid, which I'm about to show you, to figure out are you spending all your time breaking even, or are you actually doing things to actually add value? And I think everyone likes to think that they're spending the majority of their time on the important, non-urgent, so the things that actually move a business forward. But when I started auditing myself, I realized that I was doing a bunch of things that were essentially just running errands that made me feel good, the same way that mowing my yard makes me feel good. But that's not really productive. That's a low value item. So really encourage everyone to kind of do an in-depth analysis of that. So here's the power grid. I have it just taped to my window. It's the view. But as you can see, this is from consulting.com. I highly recommend that everybody check it out. This guy's got a lot of free content that is just really, really awesome, including this, as well as the rice metric as well. So you can see it starts negative $100 per hour, 0, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, and 100,000. And as you can see at the negative $100 an hour, it's pretty much exactly what you would expect. One thing that I really want to point out is this hanging out with negative people. I think that's something. Again, another kind of audit is auditing your circle. You are who you surround yourself with, so always be kind of wary of that. And let's see, moving over to 0. This is, I've kind of mixed feelings about this category, because I do think some of it is necessary. Not necessarily just scrolling on Facebook or Instagram or social media or playing video games or anything like that, but there is some element of things that you need to do to recharge that isn't sleep. If you're go constantly, some people can do that, but other people need need a little more time. Sometimes watching a 30-minute show a day can actually recharge you for the rest of the day. I'm not like that, but I do know some people who have adamantly expressed that to me. So again, to each their own. $10 an hour, big and bold at the top, but running errands, mowing your yard. You're actually moving forward here, but you're not getting a ton done. And what I think is really interesting is, let's look at those bottom 2. Spelling everything perfectly and cold calling and follow-up. Actually cold calling could be a $10 an hour item, depending on what you're cold calling for. And spelling everything perfectly, how many of us have spent hours and hours and hours going over a document to make sure that everything is exactly perfect, when we probably just should have sent it and moved on to the next thing. The reality is, I'm a terrible speller. The reality is that most people are not the best spellers and aren't going to catch your mistake anyway. And even if you did, they're not really going to care. $10 or $100 per hour. Of course, now we're getting kind of into our like actual sales, actually like qualifying leads, and kind of like starting to automate a business, as well as education down there at the bottom, like reading books and taking courses. Of course, I'm a big advocate of, learn the 20, find out what are the biggest obstacles that you need to get over, and just dive in. And I think a big safety net you can have, of course, with that is just surrounding yourself with people who are already in this space, and they can kind of, help you navigate the biggest pitfalls. But you do not need to be an expert GC before you jump in and start renovating houses. I mean, I certainly wasn't. Just surround yourself with the right people, and you can quickly move on to these $100 an hour items. Going over to the 1,000. I've got to mention number one, planning and organizing your day. If you're not writing your 2 or 3 most valuable things that you need to get done that day that are in that important, non-urgent, then you're not going anywhere. You're spending all your time over here, I promise. Here's your replying to emails or sending messages or doing like everything but the actual important stuff. Like you need to dedicate your morning or time block of time when you're actually focusing on those items, but how can you know what they are if you aren't actually planning? And then of course, in this category as well, we've got kind of breaking down some more like complex tasks and, outsourcing even more than here. Complete automation would theoretically be over here. We have the 10,000 an hour. So of course, improving your products, improving your offering, hiring and firing, negotiating. Again, negotiating is one of the most valuable items that your team can get really good at. If you haven't read Never Split the Difference, I highly recommend that you do. You should never meet anybody in the middle on anything. And that's not to say that I haven't. Sometimes it's the quick, it's easy, and it gets the deal done. But at the same time, there's been several deals that I've done where you just can't meet in the middle, and you got to know how to stand your ground and kind of figure out what somebody is motivated on whenever you're trying to buy and or sell. And then lastly, the 100,000 an hour. So capital allocation decisions, basically anything like restructuring or like drastically changing your business or long-term vision is here. So really making sure that you don't have you're not setting up a partnership that you all have different long-term visions. That's really important because you could be really good at all these items, but if your partnership isn't right, if everyone has different time commitments and not the same long-term vision, well then you're building something that's just going to get torn down. Kind of the same thing with hiring, firing, even though that's over here, but the decision to hire and fire is over here. This is just the action of doing it. The kind of the long-term vision, spending time thinking, allocating some thinking time into your day, which is easier said than done. I really struggle with that as well too. It's one thing to put it on your calendar that, hey, I'm going to think for 30 minutes with my notepad and just kind of journal versus actually doing it. So thanks everybody for watching. Again, that's consulting.com. If you go on YouTube and look up consulting.com, there's again a ton of free content and videos. It talks a ton about just focus, and I've talked about that as well. I'm a big fan. He talks about probably actually some stuff that's a lot more extreme than I have ever talked about, such as sacrifice and adding to the fire and all this stuff in order to get your business where you want it to go. But nevertheless, he's got some really good valuable content. So again, I look up the 80-20 power grid and the RICE metric to determine where you should actually be spending your time. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. If you have any questions about any of the material, reach out. But again, consulting.com on YouTube is the best place to start. Thanks everyone.